Some furniture projects require a large cove molding at the crown, but finding the exact right molding can be difficult. I'm Andrew Texera, I'm an American Artisan, and in this shop secret, I'd like to show you how to make your own cove molding on the table saw. You'll need a fence laid diagonally across the table saw. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can have a really long fence and secure it on the ends with some F-clamps. You'll need two, one for each side of the board. Or if you have a Magswitch, you can use the base as a template to route some holes to receive the magnets. That's what I've done here. It allows me to put a shorter fence on the table saw. It makes it a lot easier to position the fence. Then you can either use some more magnets in another fence, or I happen to have a second base, and I'll use that here as a feather board to keep the board tight against the fence. When we're positioning the fence, we need to sight over the blade. Our table saw blade is a 10-inch radius. We want that cove cut caused by the table saw blade to come up so that we have a 1/4 inch of material left. Afterwards, we'll cut some 45 cuts to give us our flats. You'll need to position the board on the fence, and you'll need to sight down and angle the board until you find the exact position where it reaches just the tips of the board, leaving maybe 1/8 of an inch or so of material left. Once you have that position, if you're using a long fence with F-clamps, you'll tighten your F-clamps and then secure your second fence. With that in position, we'll lower the blade all the way and start to make our cuts. For most operations, a push stick is fine. If it's all you have, that's what you'll have to use. But if you can either make yourself a paddle like this that a lot of people use on the jointer, it's a flat paddle with a square block on the bottom. Even the paddles that come with your jointer would be sufficient. I think one of the best is the gripper block, Micro Jig. It has these pieces that come down to interact with the blade. Just make sure you have something to push the block through with, and don't just use your hands. So now I'm ready to make my cut. I'll turn my dust collection on, because this one gets messy. The blade's down all the way. I'll move it up a little bit at a time. I told you that one would be messy. You're going to want to make sure you have adequate dust collection for this operation. Now that I've cut my cove with a little bit of flat left on either side, I can make some 45-degree rips to finish off my cove molding. So now I'm going to set my fence on my table saw with my blade at 45 degrees. I'm going to make a 45-degree rip on both faces of my cove molding. This will allow me to install the piece on the piece of furniture so it projects out and gives us our crown. I'll start with the flat side against the table, and I'm going to make my rip at 45 degrees. So now that I've ripped my 45-degree angle on the underside of my cove molding, I need to rip it on the front. But what I don't want to do is put it face down. That could cause an unsafe situation because I'm actually cutting away that little bit of flat I have as I exit the cut. What I'm going to do instead is keep the underside of the molding on the table and move my fence to the opposite side. I'll need to bring the blade down all the way. Slide my fence over. So now I have my fence on the opposite side. I'm going to make my cut, and I want to make sure I use a feather board to keep it tight against the fence. So I've ripped the first bevel on the face of the board. I can leave the fence in the same position to make the next cut, but I will need to move my feather board over because I've removed a little bit of my width. So I'll reposition my feather board. and make my next cut. So now with my bevels cut, my cove molding is complete. I have my cove shape as well as the 45-degree rips that allow me to install this molding as the crown of my piece of furniture. One of the great advantages of this technique is that you can make your cove molding out of scraps from the rest of the project so that the wood matches throughout. You'll need to do some cleanup on your molding. You can get the flats with your orbital sander or your block plane. In the cove, you can either use the largest spindle on your oscillating spindle sander, just freehand, or you can sharpen up a gooseneck scraper. Thanks for watching this shop secret. Subscribe for more woodworking videos. If you found this shop secret helpful, click the like button or leave a comment below.